I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music. Today we're going to review the second album from tUnE-yArDs, Who Kill. Which, fortunately, since this is a video review, we don't have to spell it out. Because there's lots of crazy, little capital,
it's like a 15-year-old's screen name on Instant Messenger.
Yeah, an Instant Messenger. Now, our friend and colleague Ian, who runs our Tumblr blog at vimtv.tumblr.com, which you should check out right now if you haven't yet, we'll link it up. He reviewed this album a couple of weeks ago, said it was going to be one of the best albums of 2011, and a lot of critics agree with Ian. And he made a lot of really good points in that episode and eventually scored it a 92. Now, I don't think Tom and I are quite as hot on this album as Ian was, and we'll explain why. We did like this album, but definitely check that out if you really were a big fan of this album, because Ian had a lot of really favorable things to say, and he made some great points. That's at vimtv.tumblr.com. Now, Tom, you had some great insights on this album, too, and I want to hear what they're about, man.
Well, first off, you got to understand what this band actually is. It's this lady, Garbus is her name, and her first album, Bird Brains, was just a lot of like home kind of found sound, sampled, structured songs. And then Who Kill, she got picked up by a label. She had a studio, a bigger studio, and musicians to play the stuff that she wanted. And man, is this lady just saturated with creativity.
Oh man,
I mean, the ideas
she's exploding.
Here, yeah, the ideas here are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And her vocals,
yeah.
what can you even say?
No,
you can't. I mean, they're soulful, they're energetic, they're powerful, but she can tone it down and be kind of intimate and emotional, and that diversity is incredible.
Vocal range is exactly what I look for in a vocalist, and I'm getting pickier and pickier about vocals now that I hear good vocalists like this lady.
Yeah, and from that aspect, it is really amazing.
Right.
Now, I want also just the complexity of the arrangements and the crazy instrumentals that are going on.
Lots
and the
of
production.
real instruments.
Yes, just great. And the fact that they produce them well.
Right.
Don't try to cover anything up. I love that. Now, I'm going to get to my little gripes. Now, I want to point out a little disclaimer here that my complaints about this album are more so in opposition and reaction to the I think overwhelming hype that this album has gotten.
Overwhelming.
Because these are small complaints in the grand scheme of things, because I'm still going to give this a really good score.
Right.
But I just think that people are giving it too good a score on average. And here's the thing. I think that people, and this is something that's really hard to separate, is the songwriting and the way that the songs are presented. Because I think sometimes where this album shines is the simplicity. One of my favorite tracks is track 7, Doorstep, and it's because it's just got this cool bass line and this nice simple melody, and to me that is the essentials of good songwriting. When you have a good progression and a good melody and just good instrumentals. Now, what's different from that is some of the crazier ways that some of the other songs are presented, and I feel like sometimes those songs don't have the stronger songwriting. The actual bare bones essentials of the songwriting, the chord progressions.
It's all flash and bang appeal.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's more focus on the bells and whistles of putting this weird sound here and making this sound crazy, whereas it either covers up the songwriting or just relies too much on those bells and whistles because there isn't great songwriting. And now that only happens a few times, but it's still a big thing to me because I feel like a lot of times people can't see through that. You have to be able to separate those aspects, and it's difficult. It's very difficult, especially when this is such an onslaught to your senses. I mean, just pummeling you with this craziness and these complicated arrangements, when really the arrangements don't come down to the songwriting, it comes down to the production and the extra things that they add on top, which I just feel like they're trying to compensate for the fact that there's actually not a lot there some of the time.
Where here, I think there is a lot there most of the time.
Yeah.
It's just that there's also a lot of additional bells and whistles placed on it.
Exactly. And on a 10-track album, when I think that like half of the tracks are kind of like that, then it's a bit of a hit, but not too much, because this is still a hell of a lot of fun to listen to and very impressive.
Well,
in the context.
and just the vocals themselves, I feel like you could just sit and focus on them and get a lot of reward out of it. One of the things, Tom, that I loved about this album is just the rhythmic, danceable percussion and beats. That there are grooves that are presented, and then the overwhelming melodic climaxes that are also coupled just within tracks. I mean, it's rare to find artists that can do that on an album, let alone within tracks throughout the album. So I feel like that diversity is something that really was a strength of Who Kill, and something that I'll come back to it for. But overall, I mean, I think you nailed a lot of the things that I have to say about it. I thought that the albumization was well too. I thought that this is a very well structured album. You can put it on the first track, and you do not feel motivated to skip any of these tracks all the way through. That's something that is absolutely mandatory for me when listening to a new album, because I feel like the formula has been laid out there. If you have a good album, you need good tracks, and you need to organize your tracks in a thoughtful, fluid listen manner. And if you can't do that, you don't deserve to be credited with a good album. I think that that's just commonplace now in 2011. And I think tUnE-yArDs does a great job of executing that concept with Who Kill. Now, I'm feeling like, while this is a really good album, there's a lot of potential for growth here to make a brilliant record. I think tUnE-yArDs still has that coming. It's just not here yet, and I don't think Who Kill is that brilliant record. However, I do think it's such a high quality listen, I gotta give it an 80, which is a very good score. What do you think?
I'm right there with you.
You're matching me?
Yep.
Sweet. What did you guys think about tUnE-yArDs Who Kill? Are you a believer of the hype? It's not that we're not believing the hype, it's just we don't think that all of the hype is 100% warranted. Maybe 80% warranted. Hence the 80 score. What did you guys think? Leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As I said earlier in this episode, please check out vimtv.tumblr.com and let Ian know what you thought of his review of tUnE-yArDs, because I know he's looking for feedback right now, and we have comments sections. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave us comments, because we like talking about music. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.